Welcome to season 1, episode 7 of the IDK podcast. My name is Justin. I'm here with my friend Filip. It's been since March. March was the first podcast that we did together, right when COVID first came out with the pandemic. And we talked a lot about the spiritual, political, economic, implications of what the virus was likely to do and what effect it had had at that time, even though it had only been a short while. Obviously, a lot of things have changed since then. The state of things has evolved quite a bit, but hopefully we're kind of on the tail end of things. But today we're actually going to talk about some end of year revelations. We're going to talk a little bit about big media, big pharma, corruption, all the stuff that's going on, as well as Filip would like to talk about some messages, that he's received from the other side. Just as a reminder, Filip does a lot of really amazing energy work. So if you're familiar with energy work, or even if you're not, make sure you check him out. Definitely can help remove energy blocks in your life that are making you feel stagnant and preventing you from moving forward. And with that, I will hand the reins over to the man himself. Filip, thank you for joining me.
Thank you. All right. Just small note. It's not just the people that I actually work with, but even the places. So, for example, houses, business, business places, and pretty much offices, and pretty much everywhere. Even a whole town, I've been able to work with and remove, like, when you get somewhere and you feel like there's a pressure, kind of like a lid, somebody put a lid on the place. I have been able to remove that. And people were like, it's not just one person. The people who had no idea that I was doing things all of a sudden felt a lot better. And people were like going around asking, like, hey, did you actually feel something like half an hour ago? And they go, yeah, it's much more open, easier to breathe. And so, yeah, I have the capability of actually going way more beyond than just a person. So,
right on. Yeah, I've been into places where I've walked into, being anybody who's, I think, an empath or who's energy sensitive has walked into buildings or walked into places and just been like, something doesn't feel right, or like, you just get weird vibes about a place, things like that, people's houses, which then later I found out were haunted, or, all kinds of stuff. Or even like, in high school, I had a girlfriend who their house had some strangeness, going on. And the property just felt really strange. And then I had found out that it was like a stop on the Underground Railroad, and the owners of the house were like put to death for harboring slaves and all that kind of stuff. But it had a very particular energy and feel to it that made me uncomfortable when I was there. So yeah, I mean, where were you back then? Come on, it's like 20 years ago. So,
well, I was doing other stuff, but anyways, but yeah, that's pretty much what I'm capable of doing, and I do. So since the last time, it's been a wild ride with COVID and everything else. Yeah, Sweden pretty much inactive in pretty much everything. There were no, how should I say, recommendations regarding to masks. There has been zero recommendations of what to do in elder care. So a lot of people were getting COVID-19 because they were not giving anything special to deal with. And when people were saying like, hey, we need to protect our elders, the government just said like, nope. So yeah, it's they received some bad press. They were called a pariah state and everything else. So during that time, it wasn't really good. But everything else was actually working. I mean, certain places did shut down, but not because of the government. It was mainly because of suppliers from the other countries that they were unable to receive the resources because of what's called, geez, the borders were
Okay.
pretty much locked down, and all of the transportation between countries were also shut down. So yeah, there have been quite a few people or companies that were forcefully shut down because of this.
Hmm.
But everything else that has been working, it's been working fine. And then again, I mean, when I think about it, Sweden has about 10 million people,
Right.
which is spread out across the same size as the state of California.
Right.
I think California is even a little bit bigger, like by 10%.
Yeah.
So we still don't have that many places that are cramped together, so to speak.
Hmm.
So that's still good. And then, yeah, when they said like, oh, you have to stand like 1.5 meters across, like 6 feet,
Yeah.
away from people, people went like, why do I have to stand closer than I usually do?
Right.
I mean, come on. This is Sweden we're talking about. Same thing as in Finland. It's like, personal space is wide for us.
Right.
While in Japan, it is like physical contact. That's your personal space.
Right.
While in Sweden, it's the bubble is way bigger. And yeah, I mean, economics. Yeah, Sweden has felt it. A lot of European countries have felt it too. And when they started opening up the borders, yeah, I mean, people went like crazy. All of a sudden, traveling all over the place, and within a few days, they were not noticing uprising in all of the COVID-19 cases again, which was, gee, who would have think it? And I don't know. And I mean, states in the US, pretty much the same thing has happened. I mean, summer came, people went to to the beaches, and all of a sudden, like, that 6 feet no longer existed.
Oh yeah. Here too.
Yeah. So I mean, but there has been a lot of how should I say, conspiracy theories, and some of them did sound like, this could happen, while the others weren't like, God, no. I mean, come on. Just how can you even think something like that? But
Right.
people are crazy. So
Well, yeah, like what we went the other day to get aura photos, my wife and I, and at a local metaphysics shop, and the woman who was doing the aura photos, she was talking about COVID, and she said, it's really interesting that they want us to be, 6 feet apart, because that's usually the radius of people's auras that it puts out. And she thought that was really interesting, that's kind of the distance that she sees with her equipment. Typically, is that most people put out a 6-foot aura, or less, right? And she actually yelled at me because she said that mine is 9 foot and that I'm putting too much out, and to rein it back in for myself, which I thought was kind of funny.
Yeah, she hasn't meant me.
Yeah, but it was really funny. And yeah, I mean, the thing with Sweden too, on that note, is over here they're telling us like Sweden is the model of what we should have done. Like, Sweden doesn't have as many cases. Like, they hardly did anything. They hardly shut anything down. Like, blah 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 blah. And it's like, yeah, I can see why they would say that. But like most narratives on any side of where you fall, they're definitely leaving out the fact of the size of the country, how many people, what a normal day looks like, how how you interact, like all that kind of stuff. Whereas, they just want to include what fits their narrative and leave everything out. So that's definitely been happening. But
Definitely.
Sweden is looked at as the model country for COVID right now in the States. So.
Yeah, but here's the thing: the whole Europe should be seen as a single unit, because US is 50 states and way over 300 million people.
Right.
And when we take Germany, it's like 90 million. UK is like what, 60, 70?
Yeah, something like that, maybe.
Yeah. So when you put all the countries together within Europe, then we get roughly the same size on both population and physical size as well on the area.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you take all of the COVID-19 numbers, you will actually see that it's kind of like equal. So we can actually say that Sweden, yeah, it's just one state that has done right. Well, everyone else is like also doing okay, but but nobody sees the big picture because it doesn't fit the narrative of media.
Right.
And when we take a look at India, for example, now I think they did cross 1 billion people mark. Not sure, but if they're not, they're pretty much close. Now, when you take about 1 billion people in that area of landmass, yeah, that's, of course, there's going to be different numbers. I mean, Calcutta, how should I say, the density and also the, how should I say, distance to people, is completely on a different scale. So it is a narrative of media. And when we have to take a look at like 1-to-1, I mean, it's really not that bad. But something is up,
Oh yeah.
Something is definitely up.
I think that I think what most people are waking up to after seeing all this for the number of months, they have everyone has to wear a mask and you can't go outside and gather in groups more than 10, but then there's protesters by the thousands who are together with nothing. There's funerals for, congressmen and for celebrities and things where there's hundreds of people there without social distancing, but you can't go to your own family member's funeral. There's, God, the drug prices and stuff that's been happening and with the cure, like, hey, we have this thing that works. It's very effective and it's low cost. And then, people like the FDA and other places banning those things in certain states and saying, no, you have to get this treatment that costs $3,000. I mean, it's exposing a lot of the darkness and a lot of the corruption and a lot of the evil that's always been there. It's just now, not only is it being highlighted and shining a light on it, but people are waking up and seeing it, whereas before they just had blinders on, so it's causing a shift, I think, globally. And I believe we did predict that would probably happen back in March.
Yeah. But here's the thing. This part that is actually happening now, it is connected with the other side, a lot of it. Because on the other side, there's so many things that are hiding certain stuff here on this side. Because everything is connected, intertwined, and everything else. But so let's do just a small, quick, what is the other side?
Okay.
Well, for some people, when they close their eyes and start to feel like their own body and they feel like different energy, for them, that is the other side. Because it goes beyond what you can actually just see and hear. And for somebody else, it's like when they start to communicate with either spirits, beings, guides, or whatever you want to call them. For them, that's the other side. And for me, it's a little bit more complicated than that, but I'll try to condense everything as much as possible. I will have eventually videos explaining more in details, but let's start like this. First of all, a human body, or should I say a human being, is more than just one physical body. You have other bodies as well. Now, I did work on you, and one of the first things I actually told you, the first time I actually worked on you, I said, like, yeah, you're going to feel a little bit lighter, and you'll be able to breathe easier. And you went like, yeah, right. If you remember that one. But here's the thing. I removed crap from your other body.
Right.
And this body was reacting to that. Like, all of a sudden, you could actually breathe because there was nothing there to prevent the energy flow and such.
Right.
So for me, that's the other side. Now, if I switch my mind to it and actually see the other side, it pretty much looks like the same as here.
Mm-hmm.
People do have, cars sitting there because it's a mirror image. Well, it's not even a mirror. It's kind of like this one. And but there is something that is cloaking or hiding, the corruption. If we take a look at during the 70s and 80s, the mediums and channelers, they could not see who they were speaking to until the person was like this. Like,
right.
Oh, okay, I have a person, he looks like this. Nowadays, they can actually see someone on 5 miles away. Like, oh, okay, we want to talk to this person. Oh, he's coming. Like, all right, there's a difference. All of a sudden, you can actually see things. Why? Well, myself and a few other people have been doing things on the other side. We weren't really buying the whole thing with the other channelers that are saying like, oh, there's aliens coming in and they will fight for us and they will set us free. No, they won't. And then there was like, oh, I've spoken with the Archangel Michael and, the new army is coming and they will come down and strike fear and blah, blah. Like, I don't see anybody. I don't feel anyone. Well, I guess I have to do it myself. So, more and more, every time, people were like saying like, oh, this is going to be happening. I was like, no, nothing is happening. And every time I did actually remove one of the so-called corrupt beings or whatever, all of a sudden people were like, hey, I feel good today. Like, hey, all of a sudden, like, let's move forward all of a sudden. And it would take a few months away, and then you see some kind of a scandal and, people going after certain companies all of a sudden.
Yeah.
So this year, there has been even way more of cleansing, so to speak. So this is what has been happening. When you actually, on the other side, talking to a normal person, not much is happening. It's a regular conversation. There's energy exchange like normally. And that's about it. However, before, when somebody shady was coming through, they would like glisten, like a little bit of glow, like they have a light within them. But it's a false light. And in the beginning, they were able to outshine what is around them. So people were going like, oh my God, he's a saint, or like, oh, it's an angel, or even a god. Yeah, nowadays, they cannot hide. Sorry. They are seeing, people are now seeing for what they are. For a shady person, every time you actually meet one, you have like weird sensation, like, hey, something's not right here.
Yeah.
And then when you actually open your eyes and take a look, then you can see all kinds of, weird crap happening with that person. And you go like, yeah, I'm going to take a step back, So here's the thing. In November, we're going to go for the really weird stuff. November is going to be an interesting month because there's going to be a whole lot of battle. And a lot of people are like already starting to say like, oh, this happening, this, that. But at the end of the day, something is going to happen. People are feeling it. It's like, it's coming. A storm is brewing. It's now just a calm. But it is happening. And you come there and go like, yeah, but what? And everyone goes like, I don't know. But something is. And yeah, as I said before, that what is holding back the, or should I say, that is cloaking the bad guys and the corruption and everything else, that is going to go away. And all of a sudden, people pretty much instantaneously across the world will feel all of a sudden like they can actually breathe, and they'll be able to feel, a little bit more light, and I think even hope. I think that will be the main part, that all of a sudden they will be more hopeful for the future and a little bit more at peace, because they will go like, people's spirits and souls will actually know that the worst part is over.
Right.
And all of a sudden there's like, now we can just relax a little bit and just let it slide. So
what
happens? Yep.
What about the people who, so I'm surrounded by people, on all ends of that spectrum.
Yeah.
So I have more people who are more in the, like, I feel positive change coming, right?
Yeah.
And they feel those energies and stuff, because I do surround myself with a lot of people who are energy sensitive and who are spiritual and, that. There's a cluster of people that I know who are just still wearing the blinders, and are like, no, the world is just getting worse, and it's going to continue to get worse, especially say in the States, if Trump is reelected and things. And like, and like, division is actually greater than it's ever been. And oh my God, the diseases, and they're almost like so stuck in a fear mindset.
Yeah.
That it's like a loop that they can't seem to break out of. And I personally haven't really made an effort to try to break them out of it, because anytime in the past when I've tried, just not even to break them out of it, just to have, like, can I bring up conversation contradictory to what they believe, but do it in a way that maybe gets them to think? And a lot of times the answer is no. They don't want to see it. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to think about it. My reality is in this box, and nothing else matters. And, so what about like those people who are kind of stuck in that loop? Do you think that when this clears, that this will open some of them up to finally see? Do you think some of those people are just going to be stuck in that loop no matter what, because it's their reality, and they're not willing to really create something better? I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
That's the thing. There are too many things that will actually happen, too many variables depending on the person. For a lot of these people, that fear is what, how should we say, controls their worldview.
Right.
And if anything attacks that worldview, they defend it with all of their might. And some people will actually get violent.
Right.
So what will actually happen in December, like when all this, craziness all of a sudden like subsides, is that some people will be able to see for the world what it actually is. They will stand up to techno moguls and, the shadow governments and everyone else, while the others will be, how should I say, kind of like stuck like a rock. They will not move forward, backwards, or anywhere. They will be locked in place, and they will be unable to move forward because of the fear. Because they know that if they take a step forward, they will see something new, and they can't handle that.
Yeah.
And of course, there will be those who will see it as something threatening has happened, and they will, their worldview will shatter. And depending on what way it goes, there's a good possibility that some people will just choose to end their lives, unfortunately. And here's the problem. We don't know the extent of it. If it's just a few or if it's going to be a lot more, because they will be unable to bear that change, because they will see what they have been done so far. When they look back in their life, they go like, oh my God, I've been doing all of these things, and being this forceful and going so much against the current, and pushing people down, and all of a sudden I'm the one who's the bad guy. And then they go like, what do I do now? I want to go to heaven. And they realize all of a sudden that their view of heaven and how to get there is completely, on the sideways, they might actually leave one way or another. Now, here's another story, because if they choose to leave, some people might actually choose to take others with them.
Right.
And that's the most dangerous part.
Mm-hmm.
And I have no clue how that will actually react, because I mean, in the States, you already have, had, because of the COVID, that hasn't happened so far, but you guys have had mass shootings like a couple of times per month
for a while. Yeah.
And at the end
there's
of
been
the day,
zero, by the way, since COVID. As far as I know, I could be completely wrong, but to my knowledge, there's been literally like zero since COVID.
I haven't heard anything else during COVID, so let's assume it's zero. But still, I mean, these mass shootings, most of the time, they end with the shooter either taking his own life or being shot by the police.
Right.
And that was the only option, available to them. And I do have a feeling that we might actually see this. There might be an uprise in statistics for this one.
Yeah.
And I really hope I'm wrong in this one. I really am. But like I said before, people do crazy stuff when their worldview is threatened.
Right.
That little box that they feel safe in, when somebody just touches that box, they go like a wildcat. So, So what else? And here's the thing with the false prophets. They are already talking about how November, December is going to be like these spaceships are coming to fight the war, and they speak with God, and the armies are coming and stuff like that. Nope, not really. Here's the thing. When it comes to these people, they keep trying to find some way to stay relevant.
Right.
And they become more and more outlandish in their, how shall I say, their ways to keep the members in their little cult.
Yeah.
So, for example, I will not name names, but there are quite a few people out there who are channeling aliens, or at least they claim that they do.
Right.
Whether or not, I have no idea, don't care. But the message is usually like, oh, they have sent, their battleships, they're coming here, they will fight the aliens, the reptilians for us and stuff like that. And that is pretty much instigating a pacification of people that, like, don't do anything, we'll do it for you.
Right.
Isn't that what Catholic priests were also doing, or other Christian priests? Like, don't talk to God, we'll do it for you. We will be the ones who save you, from your sins, and just believe in us and we'll pray for you. Yeah. That's same result.
Yeah.
It's bad. So all of a sudden, like, I've seen the uptick in at least 20 people on YouTube with large followings. They started going like, oh, this is going to be happening, like these, ships are coming in, or, these angels are coming in from above, and like, we don't have to do anything, they will come and save us. Like, first of all, what is behind that? Well, they are positioning themselves as a point of authority,
right?
Which they have a large following, a couple of thousand people, and they are making sure that the to sell a lie, you usually need one part of truth and two parts of BS. And then the more time goes, the less and less of truth there can be, and more BS until people are just eating the BS completely.
Right.
But they are so deep inside they cannot actually realize that something has happened with this person and he's gone completely nuts. Me, on the other hand, I'm already nuts in the beginning, so there's that. But here's the thing: the more and more people actually do listen to me, the more sense I actually make.
Right.
So that's the opposite.
That sounds exactly like what a crazy person would say, actually.
Yeah. While the cult leaders pretty much go the other way around. They go
Right.
like, no, I'm saying I'm here,
Well,
yeah.
So I can give you a good example of what you just said. There's someone I recently started following on Twitter who claims to be in communication with like the Palladian mothers and all this kind of like stuff. And I just find their content interesting, and I dabble in following a lot of things that are just strange for entertainment value. And the thing that they said was everyone is going to be gifted with telepathy. Okay. And I said, my response was, everyone's going to remember that they had the capability of telepathy to begin with.
Yes.
Because it's not something that is going to be gifted to everyone as a reward for getting through whatever bullshit, is coming down the road and that's currently in place. It's something that's been documented in history through native tribes and all kinds of things. It just was never translated maybe the right way or allowed to be out in the way that it should. But it's like basketball, right? There's people that are naturally gifted, that are born with the ability to play basketball and that are athletic. If I spent 16 hours a day doing nothing but playing basketball, eventually I would get to a point where I would be extremely good at it, even if I sucked to start with. And so some people have different skills and different levels of maybe telepathy or anything that, clairaudience or whatever, spiritual gifts. But everybody has access to them all. You just have to pick which one you want to practice and practice it until it can come out in a way that is beneficial for you. And so, but I read it and I thought, phrasing it in that way and saying everyone's going to be gifted telepathy is just a play to get a lot of clout and attention, because the internet is all about, attention. If you can get attention, you can sell anything. And two, like, you're just flat out lying to try to get people to be like, oh my God, that's going to be so amazing, I can't wait to get it, instead of letting people realize that they could do it now if they meditate, if they practice. There's people who have created guides even on how to hone in on those gifts and those abilities. So, just
even the government have done that.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you go back and you read the MK Ultra stuff, you read all the experiments that they did on LSD and with different people and stuff. I mean, they Project Looking Glass. I mean, they full on were trying to create a group of like precogs from Minority Report.
Yeah,
people that are able to predict events and come out with potential outcomes and percentages of how possible this is, so that they could then plan and be able to react before it happens, kind of thing.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, it's stuff that is science fiction that people think is all just movies, and it is, but it also isn't, because it's based on a lot of real life shit that has just been classified. But some of that stuff has been unclassified for quite some time. You just have to know where to look, so.
Now, here's the thing. I'll just say it right out, as usual. Humans, if they were not suppressed, they'll be freaking Jedis. That is our capability. Now, when I said suppressed, now we come to the fun part. Because here's the thing. Most people, when you say Atlantis, they go like, oh, it's a mythical place, but here's the thing. Atlantis did actually exist.
Right.
So, but here's another thing, is that people have a romantic view of Atlantis.
Right.
Atlantis was a shithole, military state, with suppressing of emotions, thoughts, dreams, normal communications, and the abilities. So what happened was that in the beginning, Atlantis was quite good. As always, it starts with a good idea. And as certain people came in, um, you know, cancer spread, corruption, and everything else happened. And slowly, but, safely, they just took over. And it was like, no, the Atlantis needs to be protected, and we will protect it. And, sometimes they instigated the fights themselves in order to um, move along or speed up their timetable
Agenda.
for certain
Yeah.
things. Yeah, agenda.
So literally no different than how things are now.
Exactly, because it is actually the same people, the same souls that were
It's
back
human
then.
nature. Yeah.
No, actually, no, it's not human
No.
nature. That's the thing. Human nature is not what we're uh, seeing so far.
Mhm.
That history that we have been taught, that is not the human nature. Human nature is actually kind.
Mhm.
We help each other. We are empathic to everyone and everything. We do seek betterment and knowledge, understanding, and experience of things. That is the human nature. Fighting the wars that we have been doing so far, that is not human nature. We have been forced to do this.
Mhm.
So Atlantis was on the same technology level that we are here now, except that in Atlantis there was a bigger understanding of using the crystals. Because, first of all, crystals themselves have properties
Mhm.
that are in quasi quantum mechanics realm.
Yep.
And at the same time, they are alive, they have consciousness. And that is one of the reasons that I have a problem with certain people who, they take a crystal and create a shape of a weapon. And one of the other stuff that I really hate is like, oh, here's a Lemurian laser sword. Like, no, that was never a sword, nor a laser, nor anything else. It was just a crystal.
Right.
But people are using it and modifying it to their belief in order to sell it, to
Right.
sell the idea. But these crystals were used in so many different ways. Healing is one of the most natural. That is why people are waking up with the crystals for healing, because
Mhm.
that is one of the like 85% of all the usage of crystals. That was what was done.
Right.
1% was to give light, like street lights.
Mhm.
We didn't use the energy, or should I say electricity, back then, but
Mhm.
it was energy that was all around us, and we used crystals on to enlighten the whole street. And of course there were times that you used crystals to see beyond your boundaries of a border of a city or a civilization.
Mhm.
You use communication across planets in an instantaneous communication. Teleportation, well, it's not really teleportation. You create a how should I say, a kind of like a wormhole, like a bridge
A
between 2
portal.
points, and you can just go through the door,
Right.
and that's it. That's what the crystals were used for. But they were also used to create a suppression field around this planet. So the later half of Atlantis, where it became a military state, dictatorship, and corruption, that is pretty much what was going on. Crystals were being created, and they were suppressing the fields of people, and all of our natural capabilities were all, we started to lose them. Like telepathy, that is one of our basic communication skills,
Mhm.
but it's being suppressed because there's so much noise out there that sometimes you have difficulties of thinking. And sometimes people can go into these uh, sensory deprivation tanks,
Yep.
and then all of a sudden they have a clear communication with somebody else, and they go outside of that tank and they call up that person, and that person goes like, yeah. I mean, didn't you already call me about this? Like they have the memory of communicating, just they don't remember how they communicated.
Right.
But that's the thing. When we can actually remove that suppression field, our natural abilities will return.
Mm.
There are no gifts. It's not being gifted.
Right.
This is who we once were. And this is what we will once again be.
Mm.
People are saying like, oh, we have to, how should I say, realize that we are gods. No, we're not gods.
No.
But we are freaking Jedis, man. Like, we can do stuff, like, really good. And, I mean, communication, like, through telepathy, telekinesis, and a few other stuff as well that we can do. Like, connect with the life force itself to heal others, to move life from one side to the other, to guide to a certain place, to heal places. That is our natural abilities. So when people say like, oh, this gift is coming, yeah, it shows that this person knows just a tiny piece of things, just enough to create outlandish, how should I say, sensational claim, and their followers go like, wow, like, no. So November, yeah, there are 4 crystals left, 3 suppression crystals that are quite big. They will be destroyed in the first half of November, and then comes the big one. Once that one is done, that's when the wave of calm, peace, and everything else follows, because suppression will be gone, and we will be able to get back with the universe again. So that suppression field not only has our abilities trapped, but souls that were coming from outside to help us on this planet to awaken us, they get stuck here as well, because that suppression field doesn't let anyone leave, and very few people have been able to leave this sphere that we call this planet Earth. So all of a sudden, like, from having a like up to 1 million people constantly on planet at any given time, to what are we? Did we reach 8 billion? Well, we're somewhere around there. Anyways. So a lot of souls came to this planet to help us uplift and get rid of this, suppression field. But they keep getting stuck. So this planet has a lot of souls, spirits that are just ready to leave because their work will be done.
Right.
And same thing when you go to different places, like, weird old buildings and such. There's just more than just one ghost over there. There's usually way more.
Yeah.
And they're just ready to leave, and they're unable to, at least on their own. So there's going to be a lot of places that will be all of a sudden very calm, peaceful places that weren't before.
Yeah, I've told this story. I don't know if I told it on podcast or not, but I told this story before. You've heard it before, but when we went and visited Gettysburg, and we were walking around the battlefield area, and we were walking through some of the exhibits where they showed like hospital beds and tourniquets and like all that kind of stuff, I could smell blood everywhere where we went, and I could taste it, because blood tastes coppery. So I was getting, copper has a smell to it as well, and so I was getting like copper scent and blood scent, I guess, as I was walking around, and I could feel it. Like when we were near the battlefield, I didn't really like people are like, oh my God, isn't this amazing? I'm like, no, I don't like this. you know?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's like that memory, that energy is just trapped there, and
Yes.
if you believe and you read that the earth is set up with crystalline grid that is there that we can't see, but it's there, then that crystalline grid holds memory and holds energy, as you were mentioning.
Yeah.
And anybody who's watching or listening to this podcast who is sort of having a hard time wrapping their head around the crystal thing, we both have a background in IT and understand that just about every electronic device you use uses crystals to store information or energy within your electronics. You just don't know that.
Or even to function, because
Right.
crystals have a certain frequency to them, electrical frequency,
Right.
and they are being used in radio transmitters and receivers,
Yeah.
in the computers, because how else would they actually know how many megahertz or gigahertz CPU is running,
Right.
or anything else?
Yeah.
So yeah, crystals are being used in our modern technology as well,
Right.
but
It's
still,
not something people think about, I don't think.
Yeah. But it's still just one small, how should I say, like 0.01% of what is actually what is able to be done with the crystals.
Right.
So our knowledge of crystals for technology is very limited due to the suppression, because there have been people who have been suppressing our history. And once that is being removed, we will remember Atlantis. We will remember a lot of technology that we used to do, and clean technology as well. And I don't mean the clean technology that environmental cults are pushing onto us.
Yeah.
Because that what they're pushing onto us is serving an agenda of making them rich and everyone else poor. So
like free energy that's already in the air. I mean, I think, I don't remember if it was Tesla or someone else.
It's Tesla.
Yeah, like actually discovered that there was abundant energy in the air, and found a way, I think, to almost harness it, but just couldn't quite get that last part of the puzzle done. And then, of course, he passed. Now there's rumors around why that was, and was he taken care of, and all those kind of things. We won't. That's for a different podcast, I think. But somebody found it even back then. They found proof of it, discovered it, documented it, and everything like that. So I believe it exists, because you can measure energy in the air.
Yes.
So I definitely believe I believe that will come, and but I only think that that's going to become available when we decide to stop weaponizing everything. And that's going to have to be a conscious choice that's made. And I think we're headed in that direction, but we're a little ways off yet.
Yeah. But like I said before, with the suppression field down, when that happens, there will be a lot of shifting from going from weaponization to actually utilization for the betterment. And that's the thing. When everything of that falls down, there's so much things that will be opening up, and people will be able to see all of a sudden. So yeah, big companies, they're in trouble because of all of the corruption that has been going on, censorship of pretty much, the big social media and everything else. People will actually find out what was behind those reasons. And I think that most likely people who have been on the fringe to be able to do stuff, how should I say, to invent things that are not limited by the big companies, they will be the ones that will pop up with all of a sudden, like, hey, new form of technology is here that will just leapfrog us forward, like with several years. I mean, we have the quantum computing now, but it's at its infancy. Will something else come along that is even better? Yes. When? I don't know. But that kind of technology can just pop up out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Because the the information will be free. There won't be anything that is suppressing it or oppressing it and filtering it.
Mm-hmm.
It will be just something that just flows naturally. And yeah, that's when we actually are talking about energy. The human body produces energy. We have an electrical current within us.
Yep.
The AC in the wall socket, there's in Europe it's 50 hertz, in the US is 60, but I think heart rate is, or should I say, the electrical frequency for the heart is just under 50. So I think that is why in the US it's they chose to have it a little bit higher, so it's not that damaging to the heart if you get electrocuted.
Right.
But it still hurts like a bitch. So yeah.
Yeah, it says the human pulse rate is generally between 40 and 120 beats per minute, which is the equivalent of 0.6 to 2 hertz.
Yeah, but there's an electrical to it as well, which is like closer. I think like 40 something hertz. But it's a different one. But yeah, still, I mean, we are all made of energy. I mean, scientists did prove this, because everything that we can see, touch, and everything else is made out of energy. Because if we go down to the tiniest atoms and electrons, protons, neutrons, and go all the way down to the quarks, that is pure energy.
Yeah.
So we are built up out of energy. And when people say like, "Oh, I don't feel energy," like they get like really snobby, or like being an a-holes,
or just judging.
Yeah. If they're standing in front of me, and I usually like go like, let's see, you don't feel energy? Nope, I don't feel any energy. Pam! Slap them and go like, why? What did you do this? Well, did you feel it? Yes. Why? It hurts. Like, why did you do this? Well, that is impact energy.
Right.
And then I can either go like yelling at them, and they go like down, like, why? Ouch. That hurts. Hold on a second. Why does it hurt? Well, you were yelling. How do you know? I heard it. Okay, so you heard energy, because sonic energy, acoustics,
Right.
that's something that you can actually hear. And then you can just, fake a punch, and they blink, and you go like, why did you blink? Well, you're about to hit me. How do you know? Well, I saw it. Duh. Okay, so how did you see? Well, here's the thing. Eyes respond to photon energy,
right,
which is a visual range. So not only do you actually feel it, you can actually see it, you can sense it, and hunger, that is also a form of energy. Like you gotta eat, So yeah, there's that. But back to the point, what how is all this connected? Well, here's the thing. You remove the cover, the veil that has been in front of our eyes, and all of a sudden we can actually see things. And then we can actually see who's our friends and who are enemies. And then we can actually take a stand. Do we want to do something about them or not? And a lot of people don't actually have to do anything, because they have enough problems on their own.
Right.
However, sometimes in our even closest relations, we can actually see like, okay, this person hasn't been a very good person, and this person has been doing a lot of bad shit to everyone around it. So it's like we can either take a step back, or we can actually confront this person, or cut him off, or whatever,
Right.
So our instinct about people will get amplified. And same thing with connecting with animals. We will have a closer relationship, because all of a sudden we can feel what they're feeling, and even communicating with them in a better sense. So we are headed towards heaven on earth. but it is a long way to get there.
Right.
So yeah, fighting the corruption. I mean, the corrupt will try to create another type of suppression. I mean, we already have all of these satellite and radio signals in the air, but it's not that, how should I say, they haven't had that big of an effect yet.
Mm-hmm.
Will 5G cause this even more? Well, I mean, they are headed that way, but there's a lot of tech companies that they don't actually know how should I say, what is behind all of this. They just go like, oh, we want to be first to get there. We want to be, with the new shiny technology, and we just have to go faster, faster, faster. While those people behind all of this, they go like, yeah, let's add in a few more companies there to increase the competition and speed things along.
Mm-hmm.
So people get, how should I say, they get tunnel vision. They only see the end destination without seeing what's going on on the side. So yeah, there's a lot of things happening and going to be happening. And hopefully people will be able to wake up and do something about it.
So what I guess like what recommendations can you give people who are listening, who are scared of this, or who are focusing on the negatives, or who are worried, about all these things to come? Because there's a lot of uncertainty there, right? Like you and I and some others maybe trust the information that we see and what we're given a lot more than others would, because we've been able to trust it in the past, and it's come to pass and it's come true. So after enough time, you feel very confident in what you're feeling and what information you're getting and stuff like that. But not everybody's that way. There's a lot of people who are listening to this or watching this who maybe are coming here to be put at ease and be like, what can you tell me to make me feel better about the situation? So like what sort of things do you think that people should be focusing on?
Well, first of all, when it comes to the fear and the uncertainty and everything else, there's just one thing: walk it off.
Yeah,
that's it. First of all, like, why do you put in so much of mental energy into things that might be, or is something happening like across the globe or whatever? Like, for most people, their reality and the world is like their home, the work, and everything in between work and home.
Yeah.
Or like school or whatever. And here's the thing. If a politician goes like, oh, we're going to start a new war, well, you can't stop them because you're too far away removed. So why bother to think about what will happen? And, people are afraid of dying because, well, nobody came back from the dead. Not even Jesus, apparently. So, yeah. Here's the thing. What can you do to stop? Not a damn thing. So you have to kind of like let go of the notion that, like you have some kind of control over the big stuff. You don't.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, what you can actually do. Breathe. Just breathe. Just empty your mind and just breathe. Think about, if it's good weather outside, go outside. Notice the nature, not the people. Ignore the people. Notice the nature.
Yeah.
Notice the sky, trees, or if you're inside of a big city, then try to get outside of the big city, like either close to the water or, forest, or just outside of the concrete hell.
Yeah.
And just be. Just one day. Take at least like a half an hour and take a look around and just notice life itself and let that life flow through you.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is what happens when you're actually afraid. Your physical body is the same, but you on the other side, you shrink, you go like this, and you make yourself small, unnoticed, like a small mouse.
Yeah.
You're not a mouse, you're a freaking giant, and start acting like one. Now, um, Justin, in the beginning, when
Yeah.
we started talking, and you thought that I was a really, really, really crazy person.
Yeah.
Now I'm just a crazy person. This,
yeah. We're slowly downgrading.
Yep. I did tell you, for example, like you're not a mouse, you're a giant. And if I do recall correctly, you actually felt like you were starting to stand on your feet within your own body.
Hmm?
Can you explain a little bit more how that actually felt to the audience, if you remember?
It's hard to explain. I'm trying to think of it. I want to like think of a metaphor. It's kind of like when you're a kid, right? When you're a little kid and you're running around the house naked, and your parents are trying to get you dressed, and so they throw you in some clothes, and then they stick you into a snowsuit, and it's one of those snowsuits that have the zipper that goes all the way up to your neck and the hood, and then you can't move, and you're just like you physically feel like I'm now stuck in this thing, and you're very aware of it. Like I'm like in this. It feels heavy. It's on me. I can feel it on my skin. Like, just feeling more present in maybe in my own body, but also lighter at the same time, which saying out loud sounds contradictory to me, but it's the only way I can really explain it is feeling more present, within myself, and like like I'm more a part of me, I guess. Almost like God, what is that movie with the mech warrior suits where like they only operate off of the pilot because they're like organically attached to one another? There's some movie, some sci-fi movie, I don't know. But it's like that, like knowing, okay, I'm inside of this space, inside of this suit, and I feel connected to it, but yet, you know, but it's a
Do you mean
connection that
Pacific Rim?
Maybe.
Because there was two pilots in the giant mech suit, and they were connected with their mind, so to speak.
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it is. But here's the thing: like people who are afraid, they let fear control them, and they curl up like a small child because that child's fear is very strong.
Yeah.
Now, if you can actually go inside and tell your inner child to say, like, hey, it's okay. You don't have to be afraid anymore.
Right.
And just like, get up. You're bigger than this. It's not really that bad. And then a lot of people will actually feel like all of a sudden they're like standing up and feeling finally getting inside of their body. They will feel their fingers and arms and legs all of a sudden be part of them. It's I mean, it is kind of like putting on the suit. It is, but it is at the same time more powerful. You feel strength off the body.
Yeah.
You have full and total control over it. It doesn't make you stronger. Like, it's not like all of a sudden you can lift a car. No, but you have a bigger control over your movement, actions, what you feel, sensations, and such. So stop being a mouse and get up because you're a giant and start acting like one. That is the message to people who are afraid. Because even if things hurt, I mean, if you live in the fear, you will have so much regret that it's just not worth it.
Yeah.
So just go out and live. Go out in the nature, see the nature, and go out and touch it. Be part of it. And let the big media talk how much they want about the stuff to, spread their own fear. I mean, CBS have been already found out and called out that they created, for example, news, or should I say, they created news that, for example, there were doctors outside of the hospital, and cars were going in and stuff like that, which was not true. And then they went like, no, we were just used B footage out, out of error. It was like, no, you tried actually create more panic when there was none.
Yep.
So turn off the news for a while and just be and breathe. Breathing is so important for people that they don't actually understand. Breathing creates energy movement throughout your body. And when energy is stagnant, that is bad, because all of other crap can actually happen, including energy blockages. So you take a then you just feel the energy starting to move. So yeah.
Okay. I think that's good advice. Yeah. I mean, and drink a lot of water, obviously, as well, because water is the lubricant for your entire body to do what it needs to do. So
yes,
that's something that I've been doing since we sat down. So I'm sure soon I will have to, excuse myself. But yeah, no, I think that's good. I think you're right, and I think if more people would, if more people would turn off the news and stay off social media and just go talk with their neighbors, you would find out that it's not as bad as you think it is, and that there's a lot of programming in place, and it is called programming for a reason, mind you. That has led you down a certain path to feel a certain way that is just not realistic. But again, when you've been stuck in your house, unable to actually have human connection, right? I mean, that's the other thing about being 6 feet apart, is you can't really feel a connection with somebody when you're that far apart, and it's sort of intentional. So yeah, I mean, turn the shit off and just go talk to your neighbors. You feel like you need to do it from a safe distance with a mask on, then that's your prerogative. But don't spoon feed yourself a bunch of paranoia and fear. Go out and experience and make your own decisions, and research your research information for yourself. In places you wouldn't normally look. So that's my advice.
Yeah, definitely.
Right on. Okay. Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about?
Well, I mean, we covered pretty much everything that we set out to do. So this part is over, but we will be back with more crazy stuff, probably next year.
Yeah.
Because December is going to be one of those things, because in that big fight, I will be literally standing next to a freaking bomb when it goes off. So yeah, I won't be feeling too well, but the rest of the world will feel good. So that's my gift to the world.
And we thank you for your sacrifice. All right, cool. I thought everything that we talked about was really interesting, and I'm excited actually to see where things go, because again, like you, I feel a lot of good things coming. Even if everything around me and everyone around me disagrees, it doesn't matter. I know it's coming. And so I'm excited to see where that goes and what's ahead. And I think the conversation we have next time will both be in a very different sort of spot and frame of mind,
Yeah.
from where we are now, which is going to be really interesting to sort of catalog and see. So anyway, if you want, you can find Filip on Facebook. I've put the URL below. I will also put it in the description. Do you need to contact him for anything? Like, he mentioned in the beginning, he does a lot of different work with energy, clearing spaces, places, and species. And so, yeah, if you need anything, reach out to him. As always, like, share, comment, give us some love. We're just kind of doing this because we like to and because it's fun and it's something we're passionate about. And we may be small, but we're growing. And if this is the first podcast that you've heard, please go back to Anchor or Spotify or wherever you're listening and listen to the other podcasts. There's some really, really cool stuff on there, and definitely a lot more to come. As always, thank you for listening and being a part of something that I'm doing. And for my guests, I really appreciate it. I appreciate each and every one of you taking your time to listen and to and just take some time out of your day to think with us and just listen and discuss. So,
as I usually say, I don't want you to think like me. I just want you to think.
Exactly. That is exactly right. So we appreciate you, and have a blessed day. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you. Bye for now.